fouling pitches, tough pitches off, spoiling pitches. I think that's huge, for a lineup, for a team, and to kind of get that momentum going. And it was like big for the next guy hitting after you and the guy hitting after you, and it really makes like that pitcher work. And it just, you're not always going to get a hit, you're not always going to hit a home run, but I think as many like really good at bats you can string together is where you're going to find success 1 through 9.
Chase Meidroth was one of the toughest outs in all of minor league baseball last season, with 105 walks and an on-base percentage of .437. He was the third player the White Sox acquired in the 𝗬𝗏 trade, and he might end up being the first player in that trade to reach the major leagues. Chase Meidroth is our guest on this edition of the White Sox podcast. Hey everyone, it's 𝗪𝗏 here at White Sox Spring Training. And on the podcast, Chase is going to talk about his hitting philosophy. He'll tell you who his favorite major league player is and why. And also, he's going to reveal his favorite stat, which is one you rarely hear. Also, why he plays the game of baseball like a dirtbag, which is a compliment. And also, with 𝗪cie Montgomery starting the season in AAA, Chase is a candidate to be the White Sox starting shortstop on opening day. He grew up in Southern California, but as you're going to hear, he's got a South Side mentality. So it's a conversation with Chase Meidroth on the White Sox podcast. Let's do it. All right, I'm here with Chase Meidroth. Just first off, what's the adjustment been like? You get traded. This happens all the time in baseball, but it happened to you. What's the adjustment been like coming over here to the White Sox?
It's been really, really awesome. It's been really easy. The staff has made it super easy, and I think the players in the clubhouse have made it even easier. We got a lot of really good people in that clubhouse, so it's been awesome so far. Yeah,
how would you describe that clubhouse, the vibe right now as we're midway through camp?
It's really good. There's a lot of belief and a lot of positive energy, and I think that it starts with a lot of the older guys, but it trickles down to the young guys, being hungry and wanting to learn and wanting to get better and wanting to be the best version of themselves that they can be.
You get traded here. Does it help that a few of the guys are here with you? Wikelman Gonzalez, so he's now in minor league camp, and Kyle Teel, Brady Montgomery, you knew, even though he didn't play in the Red Sox organization, you knew him from before. Did that help the transition be a little easier for you?
Yeah, for sure. Always like familiar faces. You're coming over. It helps, like showing up to the clubhouse with a few guys. It's not walking in there completely alone. But I knew a few other guys that just 𝗵𝗶 𝗟𝗏 and Cam Boozer came over also. So it's been a fun transition so far. And then playing against Colson last year, that was a familiar face right away.
You played against Colson. I also noticed that Luis Robert Jr. was doing a rehab assignment when you faced him. You also went against Sean Burke, Jonathan Cannon.
Yeah.
Do you remember these at-bats at all, by the way?
I do.
What do you remember? I have the numbers here in front of me.
I know I hit a single off Sean Burke. So
you did, up the middle.
Brought that one up right away. And then he was like, yeah, but I punched you, so 1-1.
And you brought up 𝗵𝗶 𝗟𝗏.
Yeah.
So before we had this conversation, I went to 𝗵𝗶 𝗟𝗏 because he was with you in AAA. He was a veteran guy. Asked him about you. Do you want to hear what he said about you? Or do you not want to hear it?
No, I want to hear it.
No, you want to hear it. This is all good stuff. See, it's going to sound, I'm going to be definitely helping your ego. He said, it seems, talking about you, Bobby said, it seems like you've been playing for 20 years, the way you work at bats. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's good because, behind closed doors, I don't always get those compliments from him. But no, he's been awesome. He's been, kind of a guy that took me in right away with the Red Sox last year, being the young guy, and he's been through the big league. So he's been ever since day one last year. That's been a guy that I've looked at and watched him work. So a lot of the stuff that I do comes from him, and so he's been everything for me as far as progressing and maturing, and not just baseball but outside of the game and doing the little things right. And so
he also told me what your favorite stat is, and I want to know if it matches what he told me. What is your favorite stat for you?
Runs scored.
That's right. That's what he said. He said runs scored. Now, why is runs scored number one for you?
can't win games without runs scored, and everything with my game is like I'm just trying to get on base as much for the next guy and put myself in scoring position and get those guys those RBIs. I think a lot of guys love RBIs, and someone's got to be on base to score those runs. So I fell in love with that stat last year and trying to be that guy for our 2, 3, 4 hitters, 5 hitters, and kind of start off every inning and game like with a really good at bat.
So you like leading off. That's number one for you? You prefer to be the leadoff hitter?
Wherever. 1 through 9, I'm just trying to get on base for the next guy. I'm trying to pass that torch to the next guy and keep the line going.
So you had a AAA on-base percentage of .437, which is obviously very high. What is your hitting philosophy, if you could put it into words?
Scrappy. I'm going up to that plate, and if it's not in the strike zone, I'm not going to swing. And if it is, and it's in my zone, that's where I want to go. So having a little strike zone, I think helps. So, I take advantage of that.
Saying that is one thing. Doing it is another. Yeah, obviously you're of a smaller stature compared to a guy who's like 6'5", but how tough is that to do? Or do you have like just amazing eyesight and you can see pitches that others can't see?
I don't know. Maybe I do. I think I do have like 2013 vision. So I know a lot of people that have that though. So, but I think it's just like the everyday, the work and just like trusting it and trusting myself and believing in myself that I'm okay. And especially in 2 strike counts, I think I pride myself in the most that I'm not going to give in a 2 strike count. And so I love hitting with 2 strikes.
Yeah. Your AAA manager, 𝗵𝗵 said that, he likes your game, but he really likes your approach with 2 strikes. You're just not going to give in, right? You'll just foul off pitch after pitch after pitch pitches that are on the edges until what? You get your pitch?
Yeah, or
just survive.
Or ball 4, yeah. Out and over the plate, and if it's not there, they make a good pitch and they win. I'm happy tipping my cap to that. You can't control everything, but yeah, when the ball's over the plate, that's where I want to do damage.
2 more things from 𝗵𝗶𝗹 𝗟𝗶. Ready?
Ready.
You have more power than people might think. Do you?
I don't know. Maybe. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. Are you working to improve your power, or how does that work for where you are right now?
Yeah, I think every situation in the game kind of dictates what I'm trying to do at the plate. But yeah, for sure this offseason worked on it. You're getting stronger and maturing and growing up and getting to that pull side a little bit. But it's picking my spots as to when I do it because I'm trying to wear down the pitcher and win that at bat, and I like using the other side of the field as much as I can.
Mm-hmm. Sox fans like when players do that, by the way. Like there's so much to that, going the opposite way. Why don't more hitters do that? It seems like that's your recipe for success on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think a lot of the really good hitters do it very well, and I think a guy that I watched a lot growing up was Justin Turner, and I'd loved when it was like his at bats are always like when he's just like fouling pitches off, like wearing pitchers. It was like I don't know why that like fired me up, but it was like, yeah, this guy's like a really tough out, and that was like something that always stuck with me, kind of growing up, and then going to college, and my coach like, prided on that, and it kind of just it clicked like my junior year. I was just like, this is what I want to be, and I want to be that kind of hitter that gets on base and keeps passing the torch, and keeps getting on base the next guy.
So I do pre and post game shows with 𝗵𝗵 𝗍𝗀, and you're his kind of player. That's what he likes. Whenever he watches the game, he's like, why is that guy trying to pull the ball, go the opposite way? That's where so many hits, in a way, go to die if you don't try to capitalize on that. So he'll be watching you this year, I know for a fact.
Awesome.
All right, one more thing from 𝗵𝗶𝗹 𝗟𝗶. I think you're going to like this. I asked him, what kind of player are you? And he goes, he's a little rat, a dirtbag, which is a good thing. You connect with being a dirtbag?
Yeah. I've been called that since, some of my first like little league days. My dad always called me that. Like if like my jersey wasn't the dirtiest one, it was like something went wrong that day. Or like he always, dirtbag. I got that one from the get.
Okay. And you grew up in Manhattan Beach. Did you have a favorite player? Was it Justin Turner? I'm assuming you were a Dodgers fan.
I was a Dodger fan. It was, Justin Turner. I like Dustin Pedroia a lot.
I could see the connection
Those
there.
were like the two I would like to watch.
Is there some 𝗪𝗏 in you?
I mean, he had a great career. I'm far from it.
I'm not saying you're going to be 𝗪𝗏. That'd be great, but I mean, you can connect with the way he played.
Yes.
Okay. How do you limit chasing pitches? How do you stop that? Because that's been an issue with the White Sox for a while, and how do you not tempt yourself on some of these pitches, because these are professionals we're talking about here?
Yeah, obviously you can't be perfect in this game, and they're gonna have their moments where they win, but it's just, I think, the approach aspect of every at bat and what you're trying to do, and executing your plan at the plate is huge for how I've hit and how I've been successful. You can't go up there trying to win every single one. I think that's like the biggest thing that I've learned.
So in a way, you have to, like, I don't want to say take a loss, but kind of like say, hey, this might not be the best matchup for me. What can I do to maximize this situation, right?
As far as like the approach is like, this is what I'm trying to do against this guy. This is what he likes to do. But when he misses here, that's when I'm gonna do my work. And if he happens to execute 3 really good pitches, he got me.
I wanted to ask you about getting out of slumps, because that's a big part of this game. How do you find your way through slumps?
The everyday work before the game. I know results are results, whether they're you're 3 for 3 or 0 for 3. But I've had a lot of success. I've had a lot of failure in this game where I know what works, and I know what brings me back to what works. And so it's just trusting that and believing in yourself and making sure you're taking care of everything before each game, after the game, recovery, and being really good, in the cage, in the weight room, and in the process.
Do you have a favorite game of your career? What's number one?
I don't know. That's a tough one.
Favorite moment? Maybe I should just say from last year. From last year, do you have a favorite game?
Last year. Actually, this will tie Bobby, and I was in a little funk in around like middle of June, maybe early July, and I remember like Bob, bringing me in, kind of telling me like, hey, you're putting too much pressure on yourself. You're trying to do a little too much, and like he was like, you're always like the closest guy away from a hit that I've ever known, and like. I think the next 2 games after that, I got 8 hits in like 2 games, and I was like, and he was like, yeah, he had some words for me after that one, like but I think that was
SOB?
like, yeah, son of a, yeah. But I remember we kind of both went through it. We had our good moments, went through it, so we always bounce back and forth with each other, and that was like a huge moment for me where that that game, it was like, yeah, like. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bobby. I had a game that I found of yours from last year. I thought you were going to say it for a while because you said June, but this goes into the kind of player that you are. So it was June 13th against Buffalo. You had 6 plate appearances. You went 1 for 3 with 3 walks, scored 3 runs, and you saw 44 pitches.
That was a good game for me. I remember coming in the dugout, and our hitting coach was like, do you know how many pitches you've seen today? I was like, no. And he was like, I think you've seen it was like 44.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's like sometimes half of one pitcher's outing, who goes like 6 innings.
Yeah. I fouling pitches, tough pitches off, spoiling pitches. I think that's huge, for a lineup, for a team, and to kind of get that momentum going. And it was like big for, the next guy hitting after you and the guy hitting after you. And it really makes like that pitcher work. And you're not always going to get a hit. You're not always going to, hit a home run. But I think, as many like really good at bats you can string together is where you're going to find success 1 through 9.
Do you have a favorite position? I mean, I've seen you play second, short, and third.
I like them all. I think I love turning double plays from second base.
I see that in you, by the way.
So it's like. I'd love doing like turning double plays is the best thing ever. So I'm big on like up the middle, but I mean third base is super fun too. Just as far as that that just reaction of like hard hit balls coming at you all the time, and it's just like quick reaction, and yeah, you can make a lot of fun plays over there.
Now, when you say turn double plays, either way, either being at second, making the throw, or starting it and throwing.
Yeah.
Which one?
I like being on the bag and turning it, being the guy that turns it. But double plays they're so fun. Like in the game, you can get a pitcher 2 outs, and it's a huge momentum changer in a game. So that when that guy gets to first base, that's like all I'm thinking about up the middle is like how can we turn 2 here?
And you have this like kind of slingshot motion with your arm. Can you explain like what that's all about?
Like on normal ground balls?
Well, is it normal? Like I'm trying to visualize the double plays I've seen you make, and then the other throws. And maybe it's a little different, but you almost have this like almost underhand slingshot thing.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? Or
like,
am I?
Maybe on plays that I charge, or like a charging play.
Yeah, it might be that.
Okay.
Yeah. You throw in different ways, I've seen.
Yeah, I like to practice like throwing from all angles, because in the game, obviously, like I'm trying to get the ball out of my glove as fast as I can. So I think being comfortable throwing in all arm slots is huge, just for being a successful infielder.
Okay, so listen, this is you're getting a lot of play here in spring. What would it mean to break camp with this team and be in the major leagues as soon as opening day?
That's the dream, The dream is to play in the big leagues and to stay in the big leagues and obviously win a World Series, obviously one step at a time. But I'm trying to be where my feet are today and enjoy, Arizona. This is my first time in Arizona, and keep continuing to grow relationships here and with my teammates and staff and coaches and get, as good as I can be and for this team and organization. Yeah,
just a couple other things. One is, you've been on some good teams before, and it doesn't just happen. You can't just flip a switch, and talent isn't always the reason why teams are good. There's chemistry. What kind of chemistry that develops in a clubhouse could have an impact on the field with this team?
I think that's everything. Every team I've ever been on, there's just like a special bond between them where it's like they're the most talented teams I've ever been on haven't been the most successful teams I've been on. It's always been the teams that are like the closest, and it's like, I will fight for everyone on this team. And I think what I feel in this locker room is very similar to a lot of those teams that I've been on in the past. So I'm really excited about where we're going and where we're headed, and yeah.
I've talked to certain players in the past who have this in their DNA. They're fighters. Like, that's what it takes, right? You got to be a fighter, right?
Have to.
Because if you don't have fighters in your clubhouse during slumps, that's going to be a problem, right?
Yeah, this game's too hard for you not to be a fighter. This game will chew you up and spit you out, is how my dad always said it. So you gotta really have each other's backs and be with each other. 1 through 9, 1 through 26, 1 through 40, 1 through everyone in this organization. It's us against every other organization. So you can't win this game alone.
Hey, this has been great talking with you, learning about you. 𝗵𝗶𝘶 𝗟𝗶, props to you for helping out the interview. Appreciate it, and good luck to you the rest of spring.
Thank you guys.
All right, Chase Meidroth here on the White Sox podcast. 𝗵cie 𝗿𝗀𝗀, take it away.
All right, Chuck, this edition of the White Sox podcast is over.